Hello, everybody. I hope that music got you dancing a little bit. It definitely got me dancing. I'm Teacher Ian. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's Learn Canadian English live stream. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Right Start Newcomer Services conducts business in Chibuktuk, which is how you say Halifax in the Mi'kmaq language. This city is part of the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This means that when settlers arrived, the Indigenous people did not surrender their territory and instead signed treaties with Europeans. Okay, so hi everybody, how's it going? Say hi if you're out there. Let me know who's watching. Let me know what's going on with your lives. I'd like to hear from all of you because I think we've got a great live stream, but we'd like to do a little discussion first, see who's out there, see how you guys are doing, because it's a tough time these days. It's a crazy world. There's a lot of craziness going on. I just want to hear from you guys and make sure that you're doing okay. All right, so let's see who's joining in. Khalud is here. Hey, Khalud or Mohammed. Nice to see you guys. How are you guys doing? Good afternoon. I wish it was the afternoon. If you look out my window, looks like it's the afternoon, but it's not real. This is just a green screen behind me. How are you guys? I haven't heard from you in a little while. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you guys really soon. Okay, great. We have a new student. So Yasmina is here. Hey, Yasmina, welcome to the live streams. So I noticed that you started following us on Facebook. Welcome to the live streams. Hope you learned some English, and I hope you have a lot of fun with your new friends. So if anybody wants to say hello to Yasmina, welcome Yasmina to the program and to our community. That would be really great. Okay, thank you, Yasmina. Hey, Christian, how's it going, buddy? Christian's been around for a while. He's been here for months and months learning English with us. So if you have any English questions and I'm not around, feel free to ask Christian or his wonderful wife, Pilar. And they've been with us for a really long time. Okay, thank you, Christian. Welcome back, buddy. Oh, it's Khalud. Okay, great, Khalud. Awesome. Thank you for joining us again. And who else is here? Lorraine is here. Hey, Lorraine. Hello to everyone, says Lorraine. So welcome back, Lorraine. Hey, Batter. Everything is okay. Good to hear. Batter's in Montreal. And yeah, he says everything's good in Montreal, and that's great to hear. Who else is here? Yasmina says, thank you. You're very welcome, Yasmina. Hey, Nushin is here. Great. Lots of familiar faces. Okay, Fecker is here. Welcome to the program, Fecker. Yeah, I haven't seen you before, so welcome. Let's everybody give Fecker a big round of applause for joining us. And I'm so happy when we get new students. But of course, I'm very happy to see our returning students back again. My philosophy is the more the merrier. The more people who join in, the more fun we can have and the more English we can learn. So invite your friends, your family, your landlord, your neighbors, whoever wants to learn English can join us. Okay, great. So thank you for joining us, Fecker. I hope to hear more from you in the future. Beatrice says, hola a todos. Hello to all. Thank you, Beatrice. Time to switch into English mode now. Okay, so turn off the Spanish part of your brain, get the English part ready, and we're going to have an awesome class. Okay, you're very welcome, Fecker. You're very, very welcome. Okay, what's happening with you guys? So tell me something that's happening in your life. Hopefully something good, because I think we can use some good news. So is there anything good happening with you guys this week? Maybe it's little. Maybe you had a good meal. Maybe you watched a really good movie. Maybe you're happy about coronavirus restrictions going away sometime soon. So tell me one good thing. I'd like to hear a good thing from everybody. And I will try to think of a good thing. Actually, I'm very happy because our YouTube channel just passed 400 subscribers. So that made me very happy. And I want to thank you guys for spreading the word about Right Start and telling people the types of classes and stuff that we have. So that's my good news. What's your good news before we get into tonight's lesson? Okay. Becker is coming in a few days. I assume you mean to Canada. Where are you coming? Are you coming to Halifax, Becker, or somewhere else? Anyway, let us know. That's exciting, right? Couple days. You must be really excited, a little bit nervous, wondering what it's going to be like. So best of luck, Becker, and let me know if you have any questions as you're coming and getting settled in Canada. I'm more than happy to give you some information or advice. Okay, great. Let's see what's going on with you guys. I got lots of gifts today. Is it your birthday? Nushin, is it your birthday or anniversary, or did you get married today? Either way, congratulations, happy birthday, happy anniversary. Whatever the reason is, you're getting a lot of gifts. Okay. I made mocha coffee yesterday and it was delicious. That's awesome, Christian. Mocha, we would spell M-O-C-H-A. Mocha. M-O-C-H-A. Like a mochaccino, mocha frappuccino. I don't know. Mocha means like it's like chocolate, isn't it? You put chocolate in the coffee and it becomes a mocha. Anyway, sounds delicious. Good job, Christian. Fecker is going to Ottawa. Great. Ottawa is a great city. Hope you enjoy it. You know, my wife and I talked back a year or so ago before the pandemic. We were going to move there. So we could have been hanging out in Ottawa together. But it's a great city. Hopefully you enjoy it, and the protests have finished there, so it's a good time to arrive. So best of luck, Fecker. I think you'll do great in Ottawa. All right, what's Yasmina saying? I'm very happy that coronavirus restrictions are going away since my flight, F-L-I-G-H-T, flight would be on March 19th to Ottawa. You're going to Ottawa too. Maybe it's a really popular destination these days. So that's amazing, Yasmina. Have a safe trip. And once you arrive, hopefully all the coronavirus restrictions will be gone. And then, a lot of places in Canada, they're removing the masks, the passports. A lot of provinces have passports, requirements that you have the vaccine to work. So a lot of those restrictions are going away soon. In Halifax, I think it's a couple days after that. I think March 21st is the date for us. Okay, awesome. And Fecker says March 4th. That's great, Fecker. Beatrice says, my husband just signed his job offer letter. Yay! Congratulations. New job. Hopefully more money and more opportunities for your husband. I think you mean, is that in Canada too, Beatrice? Because I think you said you're coming to Canada soon. So is that for a Canadian job that he signed? And if so, that is awesome. Batter said, we celebrated Zeneb and our wedding anniversary today. Oh, that's so great. So happy anniversary, you guys. You're such a nice couple. How many years has it been? You're not that old, so I'm guessing maybe 7 or 8 years. Is that a good guess? Anyway, congratulations, you two. You make a lovely couple, and I'm very happy for you. Okay, lots of good stuff. New beginnings. Yes, we would arrive in Vancouver in June. Oh, I miss Vancouver. I told some of you before that I used to live in Vancouver. I was a student at UBC long time ago, more than 20 years ago. Holy crap. 25 years ago, I moved to Vancouver to start my undergraduate degree at UBC. So makes me feel old, but Vancouver is a lovely, lovely, lovely city. And I want to go back and visit with my wife sometime soon. So maybe if we go visit, We can hang out, Beatrice, you and your husband and my wife and me, and we'll grab a coffee in Vancouver. Okay, great, Beatrice. 6 years. Okay, I was pretty close. I said 7 or 8, but 6 is, you're getting there. Yeah, soon it will be 7 or 8. Okay, you guys are awesome. Makes me happy to hear how you guys are doing, what's going on with your lives. So let's get started with today's lesson. Today's lesson is about dealing with a landlord. So some of you who aren't in Canada yet will benefit from this lesson because we're going to talk a little bit about residential tenancies. So what are your rights as a person renting an apartment in Canada? How do you deal with some issues with a landlord? And we're also going to practice a little bit about polite speech. So when you're dealing with someone like a landlord, you have to be very friendly. You have to be polite. So we're going to practice that language a little bit tonight. Okay, just want to see what Beatrice says. We wanted really bad to go to Halifax instead, but Vancouver was the city that chose us. Oh, interesting. So I assume you're like a provincial nominee. So provincial nominees get, nominated by their province. So that would be the province of British Columbia. And you wanted to come to Nova Scotia, but we didn't want you for some reason. That's too bad. And, I have heard that Nova Scotia is one of the easier provinces to get nominated to. Better, maybe you can talk about that a bit, but from what I've heard is that it's easier to get to Nova Scotia than some other provinces. But as long as you're a permanent resident of Canada, you have freedom, right? You have freedom of movement anywhere in Canada. So once you arrive, as long as you try to stay for a while and establish a life in British Columbia, then say 1 year, 2 years down the road, you can always move to Halifax and we would be happy to have you here. Okay, great. Let's move on. That is not the case if you're on just a temporary work visa. You are committed to that company that issued you the visa. So it's different for residents. Vancouver offered you a job. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. A lot of companies don't want to offer jobs while people are overseas, right? They'll see an application from overseas and that might go to the bottom of the pile because they want somebody who's here, ready to start. Often they want to meet you face to face, right? They want to talk to you face to face. So that could be why. I mean, some hiring managers, especially in Nova Scotia, they want to actually see you and meet you and talk to you face to face. So maybe that's why. Okay, and hey, Haida's here. Hi, Haida. I don't know if we've met before, but welcome. We're very happy to have you here tonight. Even renting outside Canada is difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Because a landlord will want to do credit check. They want you to prove that you can pay. So if you aren't working yet in Canada, how are you going to prove to them that you can pay the monthly rent? Right? So it's a difficult situation. I understand from your perspective that you want to rent a place before arriving in Canada because you can go there directly from the airport. You can start planning your stuff and you know what the budget is. But from the landlord's perspective, they don't know you, right? There's a lot of scams out there. They don't even know if you're really coming to Canada, right? So it is difficult, I agree, to rent before you come to Canada. Plus, you don't know what the place is like. And there are a lot of scams that newcomers fall victim to. Because you might see a place on Kijiji or Facebook, you send a deposit, maybe it's not real, right? Maybe it's not really their apartment to rent. Maybe they're just showing pictures from the internet, and there are a lot of scams. So I suggest come here, rent an Airbnb for a month or two, look for an apartment when you arrive. Plus, you don't know where you're living, right? Are you living close to your job? Are you living close to buses and stores and libraries and stuff. So if you can, I really suggest coming here and then finding a place to live. But you're rushed doing a lot of other things. So I understand renting from outside Canada. But if you do that, it is very important to understand the rules around renting apartments in Canada, because there are rules. The rules we're talking about tonight are for Nova Scotia. So they could be different from Ontario rules, British Columbia rules, other rules. But the idea that each province has their own rules is very important. I got a beautiful apartment in Halifax. That's great. Nushin, that's awesome. Halifax is a great place. Before, let's say like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Halifax was pretty cheap. Much cheaper than Ottawa, Vancouver. But nowadays, prices are going very high in Halifax as well. All right, so tonight's plan, we're going to have a little discussion. We're going to talk about a few apartment problems. We're going to learn about residential tenancies in Nova Scotia. We're going to talk about polite language, and we're going to practice a little writing activity, writing a message to a landlord about a housing problem. Okay, so we have just 3 questions tonight. I'd love to hear from you guys. Your opinion, so you can answer 1, 2, or all of these questions. Number 1, this is a brainstorming question. What types of problems can happen when you rent an apartment? So think about all the possible apartment problems that can happen and just write a few of them down. Number 2, what protects tenants and landlords? So there are a couple things that can protect you if you have a problem, and also protect the landlord if there's a problem. Last one, tell us a little bit about the worst apartment or the worst landlord you have had. So for me, I think my worst landlord was in my last building. I think she was a drug addict. She was crazy. She was really crazy. I think she was addicted to drugs. She looked like she was 100 years old. And we had flooding. Like our whole second bedroom flooded. Our floors were destroyed, and it happened over and over for years. So that was our worst apartment. The apartment now is very good, and our landlord is good, but he's also crazy. I don't know, maybe all landlords in Canada are crazy. Anyway, so you guys answer these questions. I'll give you a minute, and I'm going to check a couple comments here. I was told we shouldn't rent a place prior to our arrival. We will go for Airbnb when I get there. Yeah, I agree with that. Unless you find an amazing deal or you have a friend that can check it out for you. Like if you had a good friend in Vancouver and they could go check out the apartment, they could meet the landlord, they could even maybe co-sign for you, then I would suggest yes before you arrive. But most people don't have that, and you want to make sure that you like the landlord and you trust them as well as liking the place. So I think you did the right thing, Beatrice. Okay, does anybody have anything to say about these questions? Okay, so Yasmina says bad bugs or bed bugs? Bad bugs, bed bugs. Close, right? It's actually bed, B-E-D, bed bugs. I think. Yeah, so I think it's one word, bed bugs. These are very common in Canada. They're little bugs that live in your furniture and your bed. They eat your skin. They bite you, and they leave very itchy red marks on your skin. They don't kill you, so you don't have to worry too much about dying from bed bugs. They're just a big pain. And if you get them, you have to spray your apartment and you have to get rid of all your stuff. So bed bugs are bad. There is a website and I've seen this for Halifax apartments, you can search bed bugs and apartments. And the apartments that had the most bed bug reports are listed on this website. So anyway, go to Google, search for bed bugs before you agree to rent an apartment. And if they say that this building has a lot of bed bug problems, maybe you want to look somewhere else. Okay, great. So let's go back to Yasmina's comment. A contract, right. So a contract is necessary. You need to have a contract called a lease or lease agreement. And this is your main protection, right? Because it will say things like the cost, how much is rent, what day you pay rent, how you pay rent, but it will also list the things that you get, like how many appliances, what services do they provide you? Like, will they clean the driveway if it snows? And also things like utilities, right? What utilities will be included? Heat, hot water are the most important. Sometimes electricity and other ones are. So always get a contract, always a written contract. You keep a copy and the landlord gets a copy. So you can always refer to it. If you need a lawyer sometime, you can go take that to the lawyer and show them. So rental agreement or lease agreement. Also, there are laws. There are laws in each province that protect landlords and tenants. So make sure you know what they are. Usually a landlord needs to give you a copy of the residential tenancy rules or laws in that province. So those protect you. And then you are able to make a complaint. So let's say landlord does something bad or they try to kick us out. We can go to that residential tenancy board and make a complaint. It might cost us $20, $30 to make a complaint, but they will solve the problem for us. And then finally, maybe a lawyer. You might need to get a lawyer, but we have legal aid services that can help you with that. Okay, thank you so much, Yasmina. No idea. Okay, we'll talk about that in a sec. Lorraine says problems with services. Yeah, so sometimes landlords try to change things or don't give you what they promised. And then, you can resolve that with them. Could also be utilities, like internet doesn't work or power goes out, which we've had a big problem with over the last month or two because we get a lot of ice and wind in Nova Scotia. So we lost power like 3 or 4 times. Some people lost it for days and days. Okay, thanks, Lorraine. Here in Merida, bugs are a huge problem. Roaches and scorpions are common. Ooh. Here we have notarized rental agreements, and the worst landlord we had, she was crazy, no joke. It seems like there are a lot of crazy landlords, more than other jobs. So it's also the case here in Canada. So hopefully you get a good one in Vancouver. All right. Damaged toilets, that's a bad one, right? We don't want damaged toilets. That's our castle, right? We don't want our castle to be damaged. No problem, Yasmina, that's fine. We have rental agreements. Thanks, Christian. On-time payment is protected for tenants and landlords. Yes, so you are expected to pay the rent at a certain time or a day of the month. If it's late, you usually have a window of 2 weeks, 15 days, where you can make a late rental payment, but they may charge interest. And then after that period, if you still don't make a payment, then they have the right to get you to leave the house, basically to contact, a sheriff or something, and they come and they change the locks and they can take all your stuff out. But you are protected for that, 2-week period. Okay, thank you, Nushin. That's great. She used to come to the house uninvited for absolutely no reason and walk around the house. Really weird and uncomfortable. You just change your N to an N. Comfortable. Yeah, that's bad, right? So, you are protected by the law in Canada. Landlord cannot enter your home or apartment without written permission, usually 24 hours permission. So you have protection here in Canada at least. Okay. Great. Better. In Halifax, the landlord was very nice, but we had a mouse for a short time. Yes. So pests like mice, bed bugs, other little bugs, those are pretty normal and you can't really avoid them. But mice, it's pretty annoying. You should get a cat, right? So get a cat, that'll take care of the mice as long as you're allowed to have cats in your apartment. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Better. So that's great. Let's move on. Okay, Better answers number 2. The lease protects tenants and landlords. Exactly. So spelling of landlords, you put an extra A in there. You are protected by the law. So that's a good protection here in Canada. As long as you have a lease, right? If you don't have a lease, then you're not as protected. They say if you don't have a written lease, you have a verbal lease. And the rules still apply with a verbal lease, but it's better to get it on paper. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we would do. So here are a few housing problems that you might have to deal with. I think we have 3 or 4. What would you do in this situation? So would you talk to the landlord? Would you call the police? Would you talk to the neighbor? Because not everything involves the landlord, right? So there's not much we can do about certain things, but what would you do if your neighbor got a noisy dog? That happens a lot, right? You rent a beautiful house or apartment, the neighbors are really noisy or they cause you some problems. How can we deal with this situation? And I'm an animal lover, so nobody say you should hurt the dog or kill the dog. That's not a good solution. It's not the dog's fault. Okay, so poor dog may be suffering from separation anxiety. That's a good word. That's a good term. Separation anxiety means they feel upset because they are away from the parents, right? So separation anxiety is when a dog feels upset because the parents are away, maybe it barks. Try to calm the dog somehow. Okay, that's very nice, right? So maybe, I don't know, talking to the owners and tell them what's happening because maybe they don't know. They might not know the dog is barking while they're at work. So talking to them, talking to the dog, I guess. But you don't know, the dog could be dangerous, right? So that's a good answer though, Beatrice. I like that. Yasmina says, we will write to the landlord and tell them to solve the problem. Maybe, right? So it could be the next door neighbor. If you're renting a house, the landlord doesn't own the house next door, right? So maybe they cannot solve that problem. Maybe it's the neighbor's house or the neighbor's landlord who has to solve the problem. So talking to your landlord is fine, but it might not be in their power to solve the problem. Okay, great. And talk to the neighbor. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. Don't call the police right away. Is there much a landlord can do? Talk to the neighbor directly, be polite, say, sorry, your dog's making a lot of noise. Is there anything you can do to stop your dog from barking? Okay, great. Talk to your neighbor. And Christian, so notice the spelling. So first he wrote Neighbor, and then he corrected to Bour. So this is the official Canadian spelling. Canadian spelling, we add the U when you have the or sound, like neighbor, color, flavor. When it ends OR, we change OUR. So good point. Thank you for the spelling tip, Christian. Now, this is an interesting one because I've heard of this happening a lot. What would you do if your landlord wanted to raise the rent by $500 per month? So what would you do if the landlord tried to raise the rent on you? And in some cases, they're allowed. In other cases, they're not allowed to raise the rent. Okay, we're just writing for people to write in an answer. If you're just joining us, we're talking about apartment problems and what we would do in these situations. So what would you do if your landlord wanted to raise rent by $500 a month? You might not be used to Canadian money, but $500 is quite a lot. We pay $1,300 a month for our apartment. So that would be 30% increase, something like that. I don't think he could do that. Is that possible? I would not accept the raise. It's a lot. It should be an acceptable raise. Okay, that's a good point, Beatrice. And it depends. It depends on a few things. So what province? Because different provinces have different rules about how much they can raise the rent. And also the date of the rent increase is important. So mostly they cannot raise rent unless it is the anniversary. So during the first year, if you're on a 1-year lease, they cannot raise it until the end of the first year. Then they are allowed to raise it, but some places have a limit. Nova Scotia now has a limit of 2%. They can only increase it 2% to a maximum. Other provinces, I'm not sure. They may have a limit, they may not. I think Ontario has a limit. I don't know about BC. You need to check that out, Beatrice. Okay. Haida would leave, right? So that's always an option, right? Find another apartment, but that's a pain, right? You have to move all your stuff. You have to find a cheaper place. Maybe you don't like it as much. So we can always negotiate, right? Like if they say, okay, we want you to pay 500, why not go to them and say, we cannot afford 500, but we like it here. We like you. We are good tenants. We will pay 200 and see what they say. So don't be afraid to negotiate. And if you're nice and if you're good tenants and you always pay the rent on time, maybe they will negotiate with you. Okay, Better says, normally this increase is not allowed, but I will check the law of the province. Exactly. And if you don't know and if you can't find it, there's always a number you can call for legal information. So call the legal information number and a lawyer will tell you what the law says. Okay, great. Eliana's here. Hey, Eliana. I would talk with my landlord and first know why. Exactly. So talk to your landlord. If you have a good landlord and a good connection, you can talk to them about this stuff and negotiate and ask why, and then try to get the price down. Everything is negotiable. Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome back, Eliana. And Christian says, first I would check if it's legal, then try to negotiate to the landlord or start, I think you meant start seeking another apartment. Where's Pilar? She's not here. She's busy, I guess. Maybe she's working late. So yeah, like I said, it might be legal. It might not be legal. Negotiate. I'm just going to write negotiate in there. So spelling of negotiate, Christian. negotiate, and start seeking another apartment. Yeah, so that's a great plan. So find out what the law says, talk to the landlord, try to negotiate, and then if that doesn't work, maybe you have to move. Okay, great. I will write to know the reason and contact the specialist to know if he has a right. Yeah, so by specialist, I think you mean maybe lawyer or somebody who works for the government to know if they have that right. So we have a question from Christian. Is there a legal limit to the raise? Some provinces have a limit of like 1 or 2%. Some provinces do not. And Nova Scotia's is only because of COVID. So before COVID, we didn't have a limit. During COVID, we had a limit of 2%, and they extended it to end of next year. But that doesn't help you if you haven't moved into the apartment yet, right? So they can set any price before you move in, right? So maybe the last tenant paid $1,000, but when they left, they can raise it to $2,000, and there's no limit of what they can raise for a new tenant. So keep that in mind. And you guys are going to be paying for people who have lived there a longer time. It's rough. It's not great. Okay, she's working late today. All right. Anyway, let's do one more situation. Oh, here's your big problem, Christian. Toilet doesn't work. What would you do? You can buy one of those, what are they called? Some things you have to fix yourself, right? You have to take care of small issues in the apartment, like a toilet not working. Maybe you can fix it. If it still doesn't work, then you need to do something. Okay. Heda, that's a great answer, right? I would call a plumber, but not before you call a landlord. So your landlord is responsible for fixing things when they break. If you call the plumber, the landlord may not pay for it. Or if the plumber causes more damage, you could be responsible for paying for that damage that they cause. So don't call a plumber, call the landlord first. And then if they say, okay, I authorize you to call the plumber, then you call the plumber. So call landlord first if you can't fix it, and then see what they want you to do. Good answer, better. Try to fix it, but if I can't, I talk to the landlord. Yeah, I had the funniest conversation. One of my friends, he came to Canada like 3 or 4 years ago, and he told me the story. They were trying to put a bidet into their toilet. So it was like a portable bidet system, and they tried to hook it up, and the water started going everywhere. They hooked it up wrong, and there was flooding. They flooded their whole apartment, and the water was dripping down on the people below them just to get this bidet installed. But don't do that, right? If you're going to change something, like install something in the toilet, make sure you talk to the landlord, make sure you turn off the water before you try to install something like that. It was so funny. I'll have to get him on the show, and he'll tell you guys about it. Okay, I'll try to fix it, but if I'm unable to fix it, I'd call a plumber. Again, call the landlord. They will call the plumber. Okay, in some apartments, there's maintenance services. So that's a great answer, Yasmina. You may have like a live-in superintendent, talk to them. We had flooding not too long ago. Our washer, one of the pipes broke or something, and we had flooding all through our apartment. It was bad. It was really bad. Totally the opposite from here. So glad we're having this class. Okay, great. So Call the landlord, they will get the plumber. No problem. Here we have a chemical substance that's called El Diablo Roja, the red devil. Works fine with stubborn toilets. I would take a lot when we go to Canada. We have stuff like that. Here we call it like Drain-O, Drain-O, and you put it in your toilet and it clears out all the problems. So you can buy that stuff here, Christian, unless this is like super powerful stuff. Maybe it's not allowed in Canada. Okay, I would check first what kind of problem it is and then make, I think you mean make a decision. Exactly. So make a decision, call the landlord first before you call to have anything repaired. Okay. This one, just if your landlord doesn't give your deposit back, because in Canada you have to pay a deposit, but they have to give it back to you after you leave. Usually 2 weeks after you leave, they must return your deposit. If you don't get it back, contact the residential tenancy board in your province. Okay, let's move on to the next activity. So we have now a quiz, 10 questions, and these questions are about Nova Scotia. So this is about our Residential Tenancy Act in Nova Scotia. Other provinces might be same or a little bit different. All right, so 10 questions, read the question, just say true or false. Or if you're lazy, you can put a T or an F, or just write true and false. Here we go. Number 1, the landlord can ask for a rental application fee. So this is a fee, it's not your rent, it's not your deposit. Just when you apply to the apartment, they can charge $50, $100, $200 in some cases to apply. Fecker says true. True, true, true. In Nova Scotia, this is false. You cannot ask for an application fee in Nova Scotia. Maybe Ontario, I think Ontario allows a small fee up to $70, $100, something like that. But in Nova Scotia, not. So a lot of newcomers fall for this. They say, oh, it's normal, everybody asks for it. But no, they are not allowed to ask for a fee in Nova Scotia. Beatrice was correct. So Beatrice got this one correct. Those of you that said true, maybe it's true in other places, but not Nova Scotia. So if you know for sure, Fecker or Batter, Fecker, you're moving to Ontario, Batter, you're in Quebec. Tell me what it's like in those provinces as we move on to the next question. Okay, number 2, the landlord can refuse to allow animals like cats, dogs, snakes, monkeys, tigers. Rats. Okay, so Batter says true, Beatrice says true, Haida says true, Fecker says true, true, true. Everybody agrees, I think, that this is true. That yes, they can say, we don't allow cats or dogs. A lot of places allow cats, but not dogs. And even if they say in the advertisement, you can still ask, because maybe they say no pets, but they're okay with a cat. So I would still ask. Just don't get a cat or a dog after you move in, because then they might have the right to kick you out. All right. Children are not allowed to share bedrooms in Canada. So I've heard people say this. I've heard families come and they have like 3 children and they were told that they need to have a 4-bedroom apartment because they say, oh, children cannot share a bedroom. Okay, so false, false, false. Nushin is looking for a cat. All right, so have you checked out the SPCA? There's one in Dartmouth, Nushin. They have a lot of cats. Anybody else have a cat that they're trying to get rid of? You can't have my cat. I'm sorry. She's the best. So everybody's saying false. Notion said true. False, false, or no. This is false. So don't listen to the landlord if they say you have too many people, right? Or you need to have this many bedrooms for your children. That's not true. And they can't discriminate based on how many children you have. But I mean, if it's a small apartment, like a 2-bedroom, and you have 6 kids, that's not really fair for the children, right? So you have to think about what's best for the kids, but it's normal for young children to share a room. Okay, great. You guys are awesome. Let's move on. Landlords can discriminate or treat people differently based on your race or age. This is another situation that happens quite often. So even based on somebody's name, they could discriminate, or the age of the applicant, and they say, oh, you're too old, or you're too young, or we think you're going to be trouble because you're 25 years old, right? So big F, I like that. Big F for false, 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 false. Right, so they're not supposed to discriminate, but I think a lot of them do, right? Even based on your name or where you come from or something like that. They're not allowed to say that that's the reason why, but I think there is a lot of discrimination happening. So make sure that you know your rights. If you are refused an apartment, find out why, right? Is it based on what? Your letters of reference? Is it based on your income? Is it based on something? But ask them why you were not selected for that apartment. Yeah, so it's not allowed. False, absolutely false. So they're not allowed to discriminate based on age, family, size, sexuality. So whether you're gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, they're not allowed to discriminate on any of those points. All right. So we talked a little bit about the damage deposit. That's what you pay at the beginning. Some places it's called security deposit. In Nova Scotia, it's called damage deposit. When you move out and your apartment isn't very clean, they are allowed to hold on to some of that money to pay a cleaning service to clean the apartment. And let's just go to what Batter said. So he's talking about the last question. I think that's true, right? I think some landlords discriminate indirectly, and they might not be obvious about it or tell you what's happening or why it's happening, but for sure they do, right? And they might refuse you based on your application because of your name, or they think, oh no, it's a Muslim person, so Muslim people are problems, right? So don't allow that. Always question. And if you think it is discrimination, you have to report them, right? Because you don't want it to happen to somebody else. If a landlord did that, I wouldn't want to live there. I agree with that. True, true, true. When you have pets, true, 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 true. Cooking. Do you mean that they discriminate against you based on the smell of your cooking? Because I have heard that before, right? Some families cook a lot of, not that it's stinky food, but it has a powerful smell. And they may discriminate against you and say, don't cook that food because the other people complain. And that's not allowed. You can cook whatever food you want, right? You might not be able to smoke, but you can cook and eat whatever food you want. Too much cooking they don't like, I would tell them very nicely to mind their own business. And you will cook whatever food that you want to cook in your apartment, and as much as you want, and make a whole bunch, and don't give the landlord any, because it's none of their business what food you cook. Anyway, true. So you have to make sure your apartment is totally clean when you leave it, or else they can hold on to your deposit. I love cooking. Yeah, I love cooking too. And if a landlord said you can't cook your food because it smells a certain way, I would say thank you, but it's none of your business what food I cook and how often I cook it. Thank you very much. All right. Number 6, landlords can require tenant insurance. So this is a special, it's like apartment insurance. You get it and it protects you in case something happens where your stuff is damaged. Also, it protects the building in case, let's say I'm cooking and I make a mistake and I start a fire and it burns down my building. I really want to have tenant insurance to protect me in case I cause thousands and millions of dollars in damages. So true, true, false, true. This, it's a little bit tricky. I put true. Some places, better, you're right. They're not allowed to ask for it. In Nova Scotia, they are allowed to ask, but you can't get kicked out for not having it. So let's say I got my apartment and I proved to my landlord that I had insurance, and I kept living here for 2 or 3 years, and I stopped paying for my insurance, and I didn't have insurance anymore. They can't force me to leave the building, but they cannot accept me in the first place. So this is a little bit true and false. So it really depends on the province and it depends on the situation. Yasmina said false, Christian said true, Batter said false, Nushin said true. So here in Nova Scotia, I think it's true mostly, but it could be different elsewhere. We talked about this one. So landlords can raise the rent whenever they want. No, this is false. We talked about this one earlier, so we're going to go through it. They can only raise rent on the anniversary, so after 1 year. And often it's limited by how much they can increase it. So we talked about that one. This is an interesting one. Landlords can charge the tenant for wear and tear. Wear and tear is small damage that comes from living in the apartment. Just regular usage of the apartment. So the floors get a little bit, messed up over time. The walls get a little dirty. Maybe you hang up pictures and stuff on the wall and you make little holes. Are they allowed to charge you for it? I want to see what Batter said here. Is the landlord that has to pay the insurance? They have insurance, but you also should have insurance. They have insurance for the building. You need insurance to cover your stuff and any damage you might do to the building by accident, right? So Batter, get insurance. You will be very happy that you did. Okay, so I see some answers. True, true, maybe true, true, false, true, false, false. I'm a little confused as to which question we're answering. It's false. So landlord cannot charge for wear and tear, meaning that things get older, things get used, they get a little damaged just with time. It's not the same as causing damage, like say you had a party and they broke a window. That's different from normal wear and tear, just using the apartment. So this one is false. You're allowed to use the apartment, live in it, put up pictures, that type of thing, and they cannot charge you for that. Okay, we're learning lots. I think we have 2 more questions, and then we'll get to our final activity. Number 9, tenants can make a complaint to the Residential Tenancy Board. So this would be after you tried to talk to your landlord, you cannot solve the problem with your landlord, and you need some help. You need outside help to help you deal with this situation. Beatrice says true. Lorraine says true. Yasmina says true. It's true, right? So I want you guys all to know that there is help, right? If there's a problem with your landlord and you think they're being unreasonable and unfair, you should make a complaint to the Residential Tenancy Board. Here in Nova Scotia, it's just called the Nova Scotia Residential Tenancy Board. You pay, I think, $25 or $30 to file a complaint, and then they talk to your landlord, they talk to you, maybe all together, and you have a hearing to deal with that issue. So make sure you know that's available. And any big problem, you should contact them. Last one. We sort of talked about this. Landlords can raise the rent by 5% per year. And again, that depends. That depends where you live, which province, and what the rules are about rental increases. Here in Nova Scotia, it's false. It's only 2%. So don't let your landlord try to raise it more than 2%. Very politely, you can tell them, no, it's not acceptable. Other places, maybe it's 5. So Beatrice and who else? Fecker, Batter, you guys should check out what it is in your province. So find out what the limit is for rental increases and make sure that you know that, and make sure the landlord doesn't try to charge you more than that, because that would be a big problem. Anyway, you guys did great. Seems like you know a lot about the Residential Tenancy Act. Make sure you know for your province. And let's move on to our final activity of the night. So for this activity, we're going to practice writing a polite message to a landlord. We're going to use expressions like would you or would you please? Could you possibly do this? Do you mind? Is it possible to do something? I was wondering if. So I would recommend writing down these phrases, using these phrases when you're speaking with your landlord or writing them a message, because you don't want to be impolite. Because you have to live with this person or close to this person possibly for a long time, many months or maybe even years. So you don't want to go in there yelling and calling them names and saying bad things. You want to be as polite as possible, because even if you leave that apartment, that the new landlord might want a letter from the old landlord. So always be polite, always use polite language when you're talking to your landlord. Okay, let's look at our final activity, writing a short message to a landlord. So what I have here is a not nice message, and I want to change it to a nice message to a landlord. So, dear Mr. Vader, there are bugs in my apartment and my sink is broken. This place is a dump. I want my money back. You are the worst landlord ever. I hate you. Luke Skywalker, apartment 601. There's a couple problems, right? So first problem, there's bugs. Second problem, the sink is broken. The apartment's not very nice, but that's not a nice way to write a letter. I think they have a history. They have some issues. So what I would like you guys to do is to rewrite this message in a polite way using some of these expressions. So for example, dear Mr. Vader, would you please come take care of the bug situation? Blah, blah, blah. So I want you to use at least one of these sentences to make a better letter to the landlord. So I'll give you a minute. You can write a few sentences. write a note, message, email, text, whatever to a landlord, asking them for help dealing with these problems, but you have to be polite. All right, I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Then we'll check your spelling, we'll check your grammar, make sure everybody's good to go, and that's it for tonight. We're a little bit over time again, but we started a few minutes late, so that's okay. All right, who's going to be first? You guys still here? It's hard to know sometimes if I'm the only one here. I see 8 people watching. Is anybody writing? Oh, perfect. Okay, Beatrice was first, so we're going to check hers first, and then we'll move on to the next one. Dear Mr. Vader, in the past days, we have noticed a few issues in the apartment, like bugs and problems with the sink. Would it be possible for you to help, take out the S, help us fix those things at your earliest convenience? That's a very nice expression, at your earliest convenience. I like that a lot. We really need your help. Thank you in advance. And then you just write your name under that, Beatrice. And that's a lovely letter. So very polite, to the point. It's short. Very good letter. So just change helps to help. And then that's a really good letter. So great job, Beatrice. Awesome. Hello, I have a few issues in my apartment. It would be very nice if you could fix it. Great. So that's very short, Batter. You might want to give a few details so they know what to expect. So I have a few issues with bugs and a broken sink in my apartment. And then, yeah, you want to give them some information so that they can deal with that issue. Other than that, it's great. Don't forget your periods. Hello, I have a few issues in my apartment, period. It would be very nice if you could fix it, period. Sincerely, Batter. And you might want to say what apartment you're in. Awesome. Great job, Batter. Yasmina says, Dear Mr. Vader, I'm writing this letter to talk about some problems in my apartment. Just check your spelling of I'm apartment. So 1P, no. How do you spell apartment? 1P, right? Yeah, 1P in apartment. That I would be grateful if you could help to deal with. My first problem is with bugs, and the second is sink. Let's say the sink, or which sink? The kitchen sink or the bathroom sink. Please help to solve the problems. Thank you. So very good. Just a couple spelling things. Yasmina, apartment. I'm. Check your punctuation, right? You want to put periods at the end of your sentences like Batter, and then that's a great letter too. Awesome. Thank you. And let's go to Eliana's. And then if I don't see any more, I think we're done for the night. Dear Mr. Vader, I wouldn't say I wish you're having a good day. I hope you're having a good day. I have some problems with the sink and bugs, and I was wondering if you can fix them. So that's very great. Wondering, no you, WONDERING. Other than that, very good, Eliana. So I hope you're having a good day. Change the spelling of wondering, and then that's a great letter. Okay, great job, you guys. I'm going to wait one more minute to see if anybody else has their answer. Before we go, I just want to mention our website. If you like the lessons and you find value in them, you can buy me a coffee. So I have an account with buymeacoffee.com. Look up Right Start NS. So it's just buymeacoffee.com, Right Start NS. $4, you can buy me coffee and a donut. And I want to thank some of you who already have done so. So thank you, Christian and Pilar, Yelda, if you're watching. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys joining me. I hope you learned something. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we will be back on Thursday. Thursday, I think, is going to be a great lesson. We're going to talk about spelling. So I'll give you some spelling tips. We're going to get lots of spelling practice. We're going to improve our English spelling a little bit. And you're very welcome, Beatrice. You're very welcome, Yasmina. Thank you guys for making this a great lesson and a great class. And I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, bye, everybody.